end of a stressful day and you are ready to just pour yourself into bed and just experience the beautiful bliss of sleep. The moment your eyes close, that very cold, prickly bedfellow, busy mind shows up. And you're replaying the conversation you had with your coworker. You're thinking about the meeting tomorrow. You're wondering if you're a good partner. You're wondering if you're a good parent. You toss and you turn and you look at the clock and the time just keeps ticking away. There's no rest for the weary. Or is there? Well, there is. And that's what we're talking about today. How do you stop overthinking and reduce stress? So grab your favorite drink, pull up a chair, and let's get started. Welcome, welcome. I am Dr. Tracy Dickens, a psychologist. If it is your first time here, welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you found me. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back and sharing your time with me today. Most of us have something kind of like this experience. How am I gonna get through this? Oh my gosh, there's just so much. When I ask people for help, they don't listen to me, and I'm freaking out, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to handle this, and I feel like I'm just falling apart. I can't do this forever. Something kind of like that, maybe, kind of, sort of, maybe, I don't know. And compare that to this. Okay, there's a lot going on right now. I'm feeling some pressure in my chest and my hands are sweaty and I'm feeling the panic start to rise in my stomach, but I'm okay. I've been in situations like this before and I know I can get through this again. And this is temporary. It's just this moment. Did you notice the difference between the first example and the second example? The second example, I was able to observe what I was physically feeling and emotionally feeling and what I was thinking. And I didn't judge anything. In fact, I was very compassionate and I allowed for my situation to be temporary. I didn't project it into the future. And now you're probably looking at me like, okay, great. Now, how do I make that happen? Well, that's why you're watching this video today, because I'm gonna give you the 4 A's that are the foundation for how you observe and not wallow, and how you think and shift focus. Let's get to it. First one is avoid. Now, I'm not telling you to avoid situations. No, I'm a therapist. We don't teach avoidance. That's not a good thing, unless I'm teaching you how to avoid inviting stress into your life, which is what a lot of us do. We live our lives in a way where we invite stress. We just open up the door and just let it walk on in like, hey, I've missed you, pal. I'm so glad you're visiting. And then we go in the room and we cry and wail. We didn't have to open the door in the first place. So avoidance is about taking a realistic look at what you're doing each day. Are there subtle ways and obvious ways that you're inviting stress into your life? And I can think of a number one thing that most of us do is that we say yes when our real answer is no. And when we say yes, when we really should be saying no, we are inviting stress into our lives. Another thing I know a lot of us do is that we don't respect our boundaries. We don't respect the fact that we have X amount of money in our bank account. We don't respect that we need X amount of hours of sleep. We don't respect the fact that we need to move our bodies so our bodies feel good and continue to work in ways that are helpful to us. We don't respect that we have only so much emotional capacity. And so when that friend calls that drives us crazy, we should not answer the phone at that moment until we are in a better headspace. Another thing that we can do is looking at our schedule. Do we have our schedule set up in a way where it invites stress in? For example, I work with a lot of veterans and they say that sometimes they find themselves going to the grocery store in the afternoon in peak hours. And I'm like, why would you do that? I don't even do that. And so it's taking that step back and going, do I really need to do this at this time? Is this really something I need to be saying yes about? What are my boundaries in this area? When stress comes knocking, you don't have to open the door. You can keep it closed, turn off the light, get under the covers. Yeah, you can do that. Don't invite it into your house. I mean, obviously there's going to be some life situations that you cannot avoid. This leads us to number 2. The second A is alter. A few years ago, I had a conversation with one of my clients about this very thing, altering how you are living your life in this season. She was telling me how stressed she was about the holidays because her family was coming, and she was like, every year it's a big stressful event for her and seems great and fun and fabulous for her family. And she explained that she made all of the meal and no one helped her clean up. And she said it was a habit that she had started when she was younger, when it was just her and her family and her siblings and her daughter. But the family has grown since that time, but she was still functioning as if it was exactly the same 5-person family. And so she was making everything, and everyone demanded that she make their favorite things. And so we talked about how she could make some alterations into this, because this was a new season. There were 10 and 11 and 12 people coming to this Christmas dinner. She couldn't function as if it was only 5 people like it was in a past season. So she had to make some adjustments. And some of those adjustments were like, have them bring their favorite dish and you just make the main course. When you start looking at what do you have today, you start to identify, do I have the resources for today? And if I don't, what things do I need to put in place to help me meet the needs of my current season? And then the other thing about altering is communicating what you need. So identify what your needs are in this season, start altering things to meet the needs of this season, and communicate those alterations to the people in your life, okay? And that brings us to the third A. Speaking of communicating, if you are liking this video, then push the like thumbs up down below. Now for the third A, accepting. Now, when I say this, a lot of times people think I am saying you just have to sit in the muck and guck and yucky of the situation. That's not what I'm saying. You don't have to like it. You don't have to frolic through the tulips. You don't have to pretend. What I'm saying is you have to accept the reality of the situation, what's actually happening. When we pretend, it takes up a lot of energy, because our body is processing the reality of the situation, and then we're putting this narrative on it to make it something else. And this false narrative involves things that we can't control, we can't manage. And so then here comes the stress. We actually make a stressful situation or a challenging situation more difficult. We add to it. And so learning how to be mindful, accepting the reality of the situation, and it empowers you to move through whatever challenge you're facing in an easier way. This is where you get into that learning how to look at your thinking and look at your feelings and just observe them. And so when you're feeling a certain kind of way, acknowledging what are the emotions and where are those emotions showing up in your body. You're just labeling them and acknowledging them. You're not judging them. And a lot of times we want to judge our emotions because they make us feel uncomfortable and they make us feel vulnerable and weak. But emotions are just messengers. They're letting us know that there's something that's needing our attention. So when we learn how to just feel what we're feeling and not judge it and think of it as, oh, I'm being weak, and see it as I'm being a human being experiencing something right now and this is my reaction, then it frees us up to look at what am I thinking about what's happening right now. Am I thinking about it in a way that's allowing for me to focus on what I can control? Am I projecting it into the future? Am I telling myself that I'm stupid and a failure and lazy? Am I allowing myself to have options and choices? Which ones are closer to my values? You take on the responsibilities for what you as a human being can handle, which means you get to be human and God gets to be God. The fourth A, adapt. Learning how to adjust your expectations and your goals for yourself as well as for other people. A lot of times we have these interactions and we want people to be who we want them to be. Or we set up goals for ourselves that are unrealistic. I actually did a video on how to establish SMART goals for yourself, and I'm gonna link that down below. A lot of people will do a stress journal, and that tends to help them kind of navigate this space. And in a stress journal, you'll have these questions, and I'm going to put these questions down below. You can start to pick up on patterns, and when you pick up on patterns, you can start to be proactive and put things in place to manage the stress and that need to overthink and try and figure it out and try to sort through it with a fine-tooth comb that really doesn't go anywhere except for tossing around in your head. You'll find that you actually have something to work with. You can show up in your life more fulfilled and experience more of God's peace for you. So push the like, thumbs up down below, and push subscribe if you want to see more videos like this from me. Let me know down below what resonated with you in this video, and let me know what you do to reduce your stress. What's worked for you? I want to know. I want to learn from you as well. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. And until then, take care, and as always, choose joy.